like to thank all of you for braving the weather and coming on out here to show your support for Dan. My name is Tina Freitas, and I served as the president of the Founding Fathers Republican Women this year here in the 24th District. The name of our club is significant because we place a very high premium on the vision that our Founding Fathers had for this country. This is a vision that's very much under attack from the left, as well as underappreciated and sometimes even ignored by members of our own party. As some of you may know, my husband Nick Freitas was originally contemplating entering this race because we believe that it's crucial for a district as conservative as the 24th to be represented as such. The senator for the 24th district must be a true conservative who will stand on our Republican principles and someone who won't buckle under the pressure of Richmond and the liberal McAuliffe agenda. After getting to know Dan and his beautiful family and a great deal of prayer, we have become convinced that Dan Moxley is that man. He's the man for the job. Dan is a man of strong conviction and dedicated to our founding principles of individual liberty, personal responsibility, and limited constitutional government. Now, as a woman, the Democrats would tell you that I should just stick to women's issues. That's liberal speak or liberal language for abortion and contraception. But as every thinking woman knows, all issues are women's issues. And with a wife and 4 daughters in the house, I believe I'm safe to say that Dan fully understands that as well. I'm not involved in politics because I have an abundance of free time on my hands. Believe me, with 3 children at home, I'm pretty busy. I'm involved because it is critical that we take back this country. I've seen our country just slide to the left, and I'm worried about what we will be handing our kids in the future. And so it is up to me to fight, and it's up to you to fight. And because of that, I'm supporting Dan Moxley. There are plenty of candidates who can memorize and repeat Republican platitudes. But Republican platitudes don't hold up in Richmond. What we need in Richmond, we have in Dan Moxley. Dan is a candidate who understands what is at stake, who understands what we need to do about it, and has the conviction of a life spent studying, understanding, and defending our principles. A man who will stand strong when times get tough in Richmond. I will continue to fight for my children's future, and Dan Moxley is the kind of representative that I want carrying that fight to Richmond and all the way to Washington's door. So please join me in welcoming our friend and our next senator for the 24th District, Mr. Dan Moxley.
Thank you, Tina, for that kind introduction. I want to say thanks, too, to all of you for coming today, joining with us and supporting us. I appreciate it very much. I also want to say thanks to Dominion for their hospitality here, allowing us to hold this in their facility. And I just want you to know I appreciate it very much that you're joining with us. I'm sure that Tina can tell you that there are many different ways and many funny ways people get into politics. I went to college in the early Reagan years. America was recovering at that time from the turmoil of the 1960s and the 1970s. A country conceived in liberty and baptized in freedom in the 1770s and the 1780s was being reborn in the 1980s. I still remember the excitement and the patriotism of that time, of that era. You remember that U.S. hockey team in 1980? The U.S. hockey team beat the Soviets in that game in the Olympics. That was an exciting game, wasn't it? But there was something about that game that was different, and it really defies explanation. Because that victory seemed to carry more with it than just a typical Olympic victory, didn't it? It was almost as if it was an expression of the freedom of the West. and it was a wonderful win. Well, we weren't supposed to win that game. But when our young men put on their uniforms with that American flag on it, there wasn't a team in the world that could beat. Remember, at the end of that game, the announcer famously asked the question, "Do you believe in miracles?" Well, we knew all over this country, didn't we? We knew the answer to that. We did believe in miracles. And 10 months later, we elected Ronald Reagan as president. Ronald Reagan was the first president I voted for. After 4 years of Jimmy Carter, Ronald Reagan seemed like a miracle. Well, for those of you with us who don't have gray hair, I wish I could explain to you how it was to live life in this nation with Ronald Reagan in the White House. It was a tremendous time. We had a deep sense of pride. We were confident that Americans had reason to think of themselves as exceptional. This was an exceptional nation. Every day offered us evidence of this exceptionalism. And that exceptionalism was born of a belief in freedom and liberty. Remember in 1987, when Ronald Reagan went to Germany and he stood by that wall in Berlin. That wall had come to represent the worst of government tyranny and oppression. And Ronald Reagan stood by that wall and he gave some advice to Mikhail Gorbachev, the leader of the Soviets, and he said, in words that seemed to resonate around the globe, "Mr. Gorbachev, tear down that wall." Remember that? And 3 short years later, that wall came down. And these early experiences of my life, the Reagan experiences, gave me a significant worldview and understanding in many ways. People of my generation share much of that because we had the opportunity to see what good and true leadership could accomplish. Under the leadership of Ronald Reagan, the threat of worldwide communism was destroyed. His leadership enabled the free market in this nation to flourish. And his leadership ushered in an era in America of strength, peace, and prosperity. Reagan believed that Americans were good people. And Reagan believed also that self-determination and self-government was a recipe for success. But Reagan also believed that overreaching government was a recipe for disaster. Reagan said this, "The government's first duty is to protect the people, not to run their lives." And that's a principle that we need to return to in this nation. Since that period, we've seen a rapid decline in the freedoms of the people in the United States. And that is what led me into politics, recognizing where we're headed. Though I had the duties of a husband and a father, and of a small business owner and a student, I felt compelled to move into the realm of politics as well. Probably because I was a father and a small business owner, words like truth and freedom and liberty, those words took on new meaning. Those words began to mean something to me that they never meant before. And I realized that Americans were increasingly losing their liberties, their God-given rights. But you see, I believed in the rights of individuals, and I believed in the rights of families, and I believed in the rights of communities, and I believed in the rights of Virginia. And so, in an effort to reestablish those freedoms, I joined the local Republican committee. Didn't really know what else I could do. That was a place to start. After a short time of serving there, I was asked to run for a vice chair position. I served 2 years as vice chair. I was then asked to run for chair. I served 2 years as chairman. And then I was asked again in Augusta County to run for chair, and I became chairman here in Augusta. And I had opportunity throughout that period to work with some very fine people and to accomplish some very good things. But that greater level of involvement gave me a deeper understanding of the true problems that plague all of us in this nation. And I came to the firm conclusion that the solution is not more government, but less government. The solution to most of our problems is less government. And the evidence of that is all around us. As we've been driving, we've covered a lot of miles already in 24. As we've been driving around, we've seen a lot of farms. And it reminds me of my young days when I was 14 years old. I got my first job on a farm. And we cut trees and cleared fields. We made hay. And later in the year, we picked apples. And one of the fringe benefits of the job was, the owner of the farm told us, you can eat all the apples you want while you're picking. Well, that first day on the job, I ate a lot of apples. And I learned a valuable lesson. It's possible to have too much of a good thing. Well, when limited government becomes unlimited government, it's no longer a good thing. When big government cannot coexist with big liberty, they cannot live together. So the question is, should government control everything? Some think it should. Justice Scalia, Supreme Court Justice Scalia once said, "This court seems incapable of admitting that some matters are none of its business." That's right. And our history demonstrates that in this nation, doesn't it? You see, the government has usurped the authority to tell farmers how much wheat they can grow on their farms. And it has also decided it can tell them how much wheat they cannot grow on their farms. The government has assumed a right to redefine marriage and family, and it prosecutes those who disagree with it. The government believes they can restrict our Second Amendment rights to defend life, family, and property. And now, government bureaucrats have decided who will be your doctor. And even more so, maybe, whether you should have one or not. And unfortunately, we have some legislators here in the Commonwealth who are happy to develop that program further through Medicaid expansion. And regarding education, they have decided that Common Core should replace common sense. So, we have some serious problems. It is said that government is with us from the cradle to the grave. But we now know that that doesn't even explain it all. Government makes decisions for us before we ever make it to the cradle. And massive taxes are levied against our properties long after we're gone. In the meantime, we suffer under hundreds, thousands, millions of pages of laws. Laws that affect every area of our lives, our persons, our families, and our businesses. And these laws, we are told, are here for our own good. Now, we need only ask the subjects of the TSA's most recent Freedom of Federal Groping Act to determine whether or not this is true. Go to Texas, you'll get the answer. Yet Virginia was founded on the principle that liberty is a great good. Liberty not only should be allowed, but liberty must be embraced. We're told, though, that liberty is risky. But I agree with fellow Virginian Thomas Jefferson when he wrote, "I prefer dangerous freedom over peaceful slavery." We need to return to this principle. We need to return to the principles of the founders of America. We need to return to the principles of the founders of Virginia. We need to return to the principles that made this a great nation. And this campaign is about making sure that the founders' vision survives. This is a campaign for liberty. So we find ourselves at a crucial juncture in history. Rarely has America faced more challenges. Rarely has Virginia faced more challenges. And the question is this: will we sanction a government that exercises rights that God has never given to it to exercise, which will destroy the founders' vision of life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness? Or will we seek to reshape and restore government to its original limited purpose, which is to secure the God-given rights of the people. We're in dangerous times, and admittedly, we're way down the road. Yet I believe that the God who has endowed all people with certain unalienable rights has put us here at this time for a special purpose. We're told that American exceptionalism is a thing of the past. But I find that America is an exceptional nation. And we have found as we've traveled that Virginians are exceptional people. I'm afraid I must disagree with our executive that it's a thing of the past. We are an exceptional nation by the grace of God. We travel around the state and we meet exceptional people. And we travel around the 24th and we meet exceptional people. And what they want and what they need is a chance. A chance is helping people to understand the need of the hour. Again, with Thomas Jefferson, he said, "I like the dreams of the future better than the history of the past." There's a reason that Jefferson thought that way. Jefferson knew that we have a wealth, a unique asset here in our Commonwealth. Here in the Commonwealth, we have Virginians. I'd ask you to join me as we seek to turn back the clock. My friends, my name is Dan Moxley, and I'm running to be your senator here in the 24th District. May God bless each one of you, and may God bless Virginia.